Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is playing out a massive breakout above critical resistance, while Ethereum is repeating history, playing out a new bullish signal. And on top of that, Solana is now bouncing from the most important Fibonacci level, which I'll talk about later in the video, so make sure to watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is getting very close to potentially invalidating this previous bearish divergence right here. Because basically, if the price of Bitcoin confirms new higher highs in the daily candle closes in the price or new higher highs in the RSI, that can invalidate the bearish divergence. But at least as of right now, we have not yet confirmed a new higher high in the daily candle closes in the price, but obviously it is getting very close to that. And the next daily candle close is in roughly around 10 hours from now at the time of recording this video. And now, if we do end up confirming a new higher high in the price in the daily candle closes, obviously, once again, that invalidates this bearish divergence. But it's still a possibility that we could form a new bearish divergence if the price forms a new higher high while the RSI is still sitting in lower highs. And so ultimately, in order to get rid of any chance of a new bearish divergence forming, so basically in order to flip much more bullish again on the price of Bitcoin in the short term, we ideally need to see a strong breakout here in the daily Bitcoin RSI into new higher highs. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin MACD, as of right now, this is flipping from bearish back to bullish with a new bullish cross, but this bullish cross is yet to be confirmed as of right now. But obviously, as I've been saying over the last few weeks, this bearish divergence does not necessarily result in a bearish trend reversal. Obviously, like I've been saying for the last few weeks, this is most likely going to result in some choppy sideways price action, possibly some small pullbacks here and there, which obviously we have seen as expected. But due to the fact that the DXY or US dollar index has remained within this bearish trend this entire time over the last few months, obviously with the DXY in the bearish trend, I'm still very much bullish on the price of Bitcoin in terms of the trend on the daily time frame for Bitcoin and the crypto market. And so once again, as I've been saying this entire time, I'm still very much bullish on the trend. It's just in the short term over the last few weeks, obviously we have taken a bit of a shorter term pause from that bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously we still have this ascending line of support, which is sitting at around 42.7k. So in case we see a bit of a short-term pullback, I would expect support around that level. And if we're taking a look at that 8-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously the price of Bitcoin as of right now is still trading within this ascending parallel channel, which is technically the price trending in the bullish direction, forming higher lows and higher highs. And this ascending line of support is sitting at approximately 42.2k, and this line of resistance is currently sitting at around 46.1k. And speaking of resistance, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and what we are seeing right now as of recording this video is obviously the price of Bitcoin breaking out above this significant area of resistance in the short term. Because as you can see on this chart, this exact area of resistance has provided multiple rejections for the price of Bitcoin, but right now we are finally breaking out. And in case you're wondering, this area of resistance was sitting in between around 44.3k to 44.7k, and so technically speaking, that should now act as new support, and this breakout would only invalidate if we see a confirmed break back below around 44.3k, like what we saw back here. And so basically, if that happens, if we actually see a break back to the downside below 44.3k, then in that case, I would expect a drop at least down towards around 43,500. But obviously, as of right now, that has not happened. We're still trading above this important area of resistance, which means technically we should expect support around that area right there. And as for the next resistance, we could find some resistance based on these candle closes right here at around 45,500. But above that, I would expect the next resistance closer towards 46k based on this line right here. And in a more bullish scenario, if we actually broke out above this line right here, above around 46.1k, then in that case, the next strong resistance should be sitting at around 48k based on previous price action and also a Fibonacci level on the weekly time frame. And so taking another look at the short term, once again, now that the price of Bitcoin is breaking out above a resistance, obviously that means technically the price is leaving this massive sideways price range. And so like I was saying all the way back down here, I was basically very neutral, expecting a lot of choppy sideways price action in the short term. But technically, as we're breaking out above resistance, this is the price flipping in the more bullish direction. So we should start flipping more bullish on the price of Bitcoin now that we're breaking out above resistance. But once again, either way, whatever happens in the short term, whether we're chopping around sideways or we're seeing seeing a slight pullback. Either way, on the much larger timeframes, I'm still bullish on this larger trend on the daily timeframe. And if we're zooming all the way into the 1 hour Bitcoin chart, obviously, as I mentioned in my last video here on the channel, the price of Bitcoin initially began a breakout to the upside from this symmetrical triangle pattern just in the much shorter term, only on the 1 hour chart. But obviously, since my last video, the price technically invalidated that breakout to the upside with a small pullback back below the point of the breakout. And so technically speaking, that did invalidate this breakout for this symmetrical triangle pattern right here, which invalidated that technical price target, which I talked about in my last video. But as I also said in my last video, I did open a small long position personally around this breakout right here, around 44K approximately. And since then, I did actually close part of that long position due to the fact that we hit the stop loss for that position. But I have actually kept some of that long position open due to the fact that the price actually came down and bounced from this short-term area of support, which is sitting in between around 43.2K to 43.4K. And so like I said in my last video, right now I'm still long on the price of Bitcoin. I'm still bullish here in the short term. And obviously right now we have pumped back to the upside from that short-term pullback. And as of right now, once again, I'm still holding that long position. And if you want to take trades just like this, whether we're looking bullish or bearish, you can profit in either scenario. And personally, I take these trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto or more and to make one trade over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trade in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you might as well check out those links down below this video to get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links if you want to get those extra bonuses. But anyway, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and right now the price of Bitcoin has finally taken out a lot of that liquidity to the upside, which is what I've been talking about recently on the channel. Because once again, as I said in my last video and also other videos recently on the channel, we did have a lot of liquidity just above the current price of Bitcoin back then. First of all, we had this area of liquidity at around 44,500. We had some more liquidity at around 44.9K to 45K, which the price of Bitcoin has now taken out. But as of right now, we still have that area of liquidity, that level of liquidity at around 45.7K, and more liquidity going all the way up towards around 46.2K. And so once again, as I said recently here on the channel, these liquidity zones above the current price of Bitcoin are basically acting as a magnet. They are attracting the price of Bitcoin higher towards those areas of liquidations, towards those liquidity zones. And now it is worth mentioning that we do actually have a small amount of liquidity building up to the downside, mainly at this level at around 41.8 to 41.9K. But overall, as of right now, we still have more liquidity above us than below us, but it is worth mentioning that lower level. In case we see a bit of a pullback, 41.9K would be a potential price target to the downside. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, and right now we've just seen another perfect bounce from this area of support, which is sitting in between around 2.1K to 2150, and the price bounced at around 2150. And we also have this Fibonacci level of support at around 2190. And this Fibonacci level of support at around 2040. And now, unlike Bitcoin, the price of ETH is a little further away from potentially invalidating this bearish divergence. And so at least for now, this is still currently playing out as of right now, which means we're most likely going to see either some choppy sideways price action or potentially some slight bearish price action in the short term, which so far over the last 1 week or so has been playing out as expected. But once again, this bearish divergence does not necessarily guarantee that the bullish trend is completely over and we're about to crash into a new bearish trend. Once again, it does not mean that. It could just mean a bit of a short-term pause before the continuation of the bullish trend later on. And if we're taking a look at the short term, looking at the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, right now the price of ETH is potentially repeating history with a short-term bullish divergence. And this bullish divergence is also happening just above this area of support, kind of like what we saw back here, but obviously back in this previous bullish divergence, we did go a little bit lower into this area of support. But either way, this previous bullish divergence did indeed result result in a short-term bullish relief over the next few days, and at least as of right now, so far this bullish divergence has confirmed and is resulting in a short-term bullish relief so far. But right now, as of recording this video, the price of ETH is running into this horizontal line of resistance, which was previous support, and that's sitting at around 22.75. But if we end up seeing a confirmed breakout above 22.75, then in that case, we have this area of resistance sitting in between around 23.10 to 23.30. And above that, we have this area of resistance sitting in between around 23.80, going all the way up towards around 24.10. And also, similar to what we saw back here, where we saw a double bottom pattern, a W pattern, we're also now potentially forming a double bottom pattern, also known as a W pattern, but we need to break out above the neckline in order to confirm the pattern and the price target. And so if we end up seeing that happening, if we confirm a breakout above around 22.75, then that would set up a bullish price target at around 23.60 approximately. And so from the point of the breakout to that price target, that would be roughly around a 4% move to the upside here in the price of ETH. Or for example, with a 10x leverage trade, that could be a possible 40% profit, just as an example, if we're taking this trade right here. And once again, if you want to trade the price of crypto, make sure to check out those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. But at least as of right now, while the price is still sitting below this level of resistance, technically that bullish price target is not yet confirmed, which means in the short term, we're looking neutral to bullish due to this bullish divergence. Because once again, a bullish divergence usually means we're due to see either choppy sideways price action or potentially a slight bullish relief. And so if history repeats, we could end up seeing that second scenario play out. And now, if we're zooming into the much shorter term, looking at the 1 hour ETH to US dollar chart, obviously, since my last video, we did end up seeing a break to the downside in the price of ETH below this ascending line of support, which was sitting at around 22.30. And so technically speaking, that break to the downside for this symmetrical triangle pattern activated a bearish price target, which was sitting at around 21.60 approximately. And obviously, as you can see right here, the price of ETH fell slightly short of that technical price target, but it did get very close, much closer to the price target than the point of the breakdown. And so, for example, if you did actually enter a short position with this break to the downside towards that technical price target, if you simply used some decent risk management by moving stop losses further into profits, and that can be done manually, or you can use a trailing stop loss, or if you simply took some profits on the trade before the technical price target, which personally I talk about taking some profits just before the price target in case we don't fully hit the technical price target. Obviously, if you used risk management on that trade, even with this quick reversal back to the upside, that could still have been a very profitable short position just in the immediate short term. Remember, we're only talking about the 1 hour time frame. And so obviously, once again, this is why I always talk about stop losses, using stop losses for leverage trades, and especially aiming to get that stop loss into profits once the trade enters well into profits. But obviously right now, considering the price is broken out back above the point of the breakdown, back above this line of support right here, this has now invalidated this pattern altogether. Obviously, we got very close to completing the pattern either way, but technically this pattern is now completely invalidated. And so right now, we just need to pay attention to that horizontal resistance here on the 4 hour time frame. And if we break out above that resistance, once again, that would set up a short-term bullish price target. And so personally, I'd look at that possible breakout for a possible long position, just a short-term trade with the same risk management strategy. But as always, that is not personal financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation. That's just being transparent with my trading strategy when it comes to these short-term movements and breakouts and breakdowns. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana against the US dollar on the 4 hour time frame, right now the price of Solana is bouncing from the most important area on the chart, which is the golden pocket, sitting in between around $83.50 to around $85.50. And this golden pocket just on the 4 hour time frame is based on the Fibonacci retracement tool from this low at around $67 up to this swing high. And obviously the golden pocket is the area on the chart in between the 65% retracement level and the 61.8% retracement level, which is the most important Fibonacci level. And so obviously right now we're seeing pretty much a perfect bounce from that exact Fibonacci level, kind of like what we saw just back here. And as for short-term resistance, I would expect some resistance at around $98 to $99, closer towards $99, and above that, more resistance at around $108, and above that, more resistance at around $115 to $116. And as for short-term support, once again, I do expect support around this golden pocket, which obviously is playing out exactly as expected. But in a more bearish scenario, if we actually broke below the golden pocket, then in that that case, the next level of support in the short term that I'd be watching is sitting at around $77. But at the same time as the price bouncing from this golden pocket, we're also seeing the 4-hour RSI enter into oversold territories and actually bounce from oversold territories, which basically means we have limited room to the downside based on the RSI at the same time as the price running into critical support, which is why we're seeing a bit of a short-term bounce. And so just in the imminent short term, talking about the coming hours, possibly over the next one day, once again, we could see a bit more of a bounce from these golden pockets. But at least as of right now, when we're talking about the 4-hour time frame, remember only in the short term, not the larger trend, just in the short term, the trend is bearish. We are forming lower highs and lower lows. And so it's possible this could just be a small bounce within this bearish trend on the 4-hour time frame. But ultimately, this bearish trend, if you're zooming all the way out to the 3-day chart, for example, basically looks like a small pullback within a much larger bullish trend on the larger time frames. And so as always, it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames. For example, in the short term, we could still be within a short-term bearish trend, but if you zoom out to a much larger time frame like the 3-day chart, this could just be a small pullback within the much larger bullish trend once again. But either way, if you want to know how you can profit from crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways, you can profit in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can long or short crypto to maximize your profits if the price is bullish or bearish, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.